Sports provide that rare opportunity to see the impossible happen with your own eyes. Things like Michael Jordan floating across the air on the way to a slam dunk, or Barry Sanders breaking ankles on the way to the end zone. These abnormal feats just seem otherworldly when you do compare them with, feats of the average 9 to 5 desk jockey. But when the superhuman is combined with combat sports, it takes us to another level of amazement. When an NBA player flies across the screen, it's cool and reminds us of what we regular people can't do. But when that miraculous feat is paired with destruction, the only thing that's missing is a cape, a mask, or an Avengers logo. Today, we're going to talk about some of the times we didn't know if we were watching mixed martial arts or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Hi guys, I'm Tom from MMA On Point, and thank goodness for today's sponsor, because when it comes to being a superhero, you can bet your balls Manscaped has you covered with Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs. Is that synergy, people, or is that synergy? Yeah. I'll see myself out. More on that in a bit, but first, here is 10 superhuman moments in MMA. Number 10, Dan Gumby. Every true comic book nerd has wondered what one of their beloved colourful characters would be like in real life. Well, at UFC 111, we got a chance at what Mr. Fantastic would look like in the cage as Dan Hardy challenged Georges St-Pierre for his undisputed title belt. While the marketing for the fight tried to convince us that a single strike from the heavy-handed Dan Hardy would end the champion's reign, nothing really remotely like this happened. GSP just simply dominated the challenger from pillar to post, landing takedowns with little to no meaningful resistance. The champion completely controlled positioning and passing guard with just complete ease. The only thing he couldn't do is submit Hardy, and it certainly wasn't from a lack of trying. As the opening round came to a close, Hardy was stuck in a deep armbar as GSP cranked away expecting the tap, but Hardy would escape and see the next round, and while Hardy would again survive 2 more armlock attempts in the second and third, in the fourth and fifth, he would show his supreme flexibility yet again, with him trapped in a pair of Kimuras and a determined GSP yanking at it without mercy. Somehow he'd find his way out of tapping, and what was left was Hardy surviving yet another less intense Kimura attempt in a lopsided decision loss. GSP even joked with Hardy and Joe Rogan about the unsubmittable rubber arms immediately after the fight.
I just tried to break his arm, and he got out and laughed at me like, hey. I was like, oh my God. I was like...
Number 9, flying the friendly knees. Upon his long-awaited entrance into the UFC, Ben Askren made sure to antagonize as much of the welterweight division as he possibly could, and including in his shotgun blast to everyone at 170 was longtime fringe contender Jorge Masvidal. As someone who cut their teeth in the fascinating world of Miami's unsanctioned backyard fight scene, and more recently delivered street justice to Leon Edwards backstage following his previous booking, Masvidal wasn't exactly fond of the mind games. Promising to unleash untold levels of hell on his vocal and confident opponent, the tension leading into their meeting at UFC 239 was as high as possible on a card featuring John Jones and Amanda Nunes defending their titles.
How do you beat him?
Any way I want.
How do you think?
I dominate him whole time.
Completely relaxed against the fence, no one outside of American top team coach Mike Brown, who was filmed drilling the exact technique hours before the bout, could expect a flying knee that greeted Askren as he dove in for a single leg takedown. Just like that, the former Bellator and one championship welterweight king was no longer undefeated, and after a 16-year career, Masvidal became a star, and all it took was 5 seconds. Of course, if referee Jason Herzog were in close proximity to the fighters, the stoppage might have been clocked in at 3 seconds.
This isn't even a stopwatch, it's a digital thermometer.
Number 8, Headless Horseman. There's just something about larger-than-life heavyweights squaring off with one another, and hopefully it's the closest we'll ever come to one of those monster versus monster movies that destroy entire cities. Heading into UFC 218, we got one of the finest examples of such overly muscular and destructive matchmaking, probably the most intriguing looking face-off since Brock Lesnar and the horse meat version of Alistair Overeem. It was here that Cameroon's heavy-handed native son Francis Ngannou was given the opportunity to keep his finishing streak alive against the highly decorated Overeem. Even with Overeem's resume as a K1 Grand Prix champion and 21 MMA knockout wins at the time, his underrating wrestling ability and his own susceptibility to a fight-ending blow made it clear that a stand-up war may have not been the best idea. Wisely, the former Strikeforce and Dream champ quickly went in for a clinch but couldn't generate any offense as Ngannou had him pressed against the fence, completely negating any possible danger. After Dan Miragliotta separated the two, Overeem entertained Ngannou in boxing range, and in those 20 seconds the Predator did what he does best. A wild lead uppercut perfectly clipped the Demolition Man under the chin, sending his head violently back as his huge inanimate frame crashed into the canvas with a hammer fist for good measure. Number 7, it's showtime. The WEC was the place for the lighter weight classes to shine, and they rarely disappointed. The conclusion of such an incredible chapter couldn't have been more fitting as Anthony Pettis challenged Ben Henderson for 155-pound supremacy. The two gave us one of the best title fights in history in a back and forth affair that displayed the highest levels of all phases of MMA. Top-notch wrestling, wild scrambles, a relentless pace, and impressive kicks from both Taekwondo black belts. Going into the final round of a fight where two of the judges had it even, the tense fight didn't let up as both men had their moments of success and likely made it really goddamn hard for the three judges cage side. As the last minute approached, Pettis unleashed a masterpiece of acrobatics with a wall run into a flying roundhouse that would make Spider-Man prematurely shoot a web. Henderson absorbed the strike and instantly fell to the floor. Amazingly, his chin held up to what became known as the Showtime kick and follow-up strikes to see the final bell. Whatever doubt lingered entering round 5 was gone as Pettis earned the unanimous decision, concluding the WEC with a highlight reel moment that will play until the end of time. Number 6, Night of the Kickboxing Dead. Death is usually a final destination. That is, unless you're veteran heavyweight Cheick Kongo. At UFC on Versus 4, the French-born African fighter would be paired with fellow kickboxer Pat Barry in the main event. Pittsburgh's Consol Energy Center would witness Kongo achieve a heroic feat worthy of his comic book character physique. With the two men mostly feeling each other out for the first 2 minutes and 15 seconds of the bout, the impatient crowd started showering the octagon with boos, and almost on cue, Barry landed a hard overhand right that dropped Kongo. Clearly dazed from the punch, Kongo took more shots as Barry moved in for the stoppage. Only Dan Miragliotta wasn't quite convinced it was over. Somehow, Kongo rose to his feet only to get dropped again as a shot to the temple landed literally a second afterwards. And as Mike Goldberg and Joe Rogan mistakenly declared the end of the fight repeatedly, Kongo would make it up again as Barry moved in for the kill. Instead, with his back against the fence, a still-rocked Kongo landed his own kill shots and completed a televised resurrection as two hard punches put Barry out. With his eyelids open and pupils rolled at the top of his head, Barry was left completely unconscious as Kongo, who admitted to still being out of it at the time, calmly celebrated the win. Number 5, the last vertebrae. The human neck is considered one of the most delicate parts of the body, housing part of the spinal cord and the bridge connecting our brains to the rest of our bodies. So it's no wonder spikes are illegal in the unified rules. Along with kicks and knees to the head of a grounded opponent, there really aren't strict no-nos. However, things are a little bit different in Japan as Fedor Emelianenko learned the hard way at Pride Critical Countdown in 2004. Facing former UFC heavyweight champion and NCAA Division I wrestling national champion Kevin Randleman, it seemed logical that the game plan would involve forcing Fedor to the floor, and that's exactly what happened in the opening seconds of the bout as Randleman secured a double leg takedown against the corner of the ring. But Fedor refused to stay down and initiated a scramble, and while he did get to his feet, the monster Randleman had back clinch locked in. But what would happen next would push both the fragility of man and our appetite for violence to the brink. A merciless suplex for the Ohio State wrestler put the last Emperor down on his neck, narrowly missing a catastrophic injury on the landing. Watching this amazing sequence in slow motion shows just before touching the canvas, Fedor slightly tucked his chin and saved himself from an imaginable life-altering event. And somehow he endured the overwhelming strength and power from his opponent to gain the upper hand, and less than a minute later, Randleman was tapping to a Kimura. Number 4, Daryl Michon Yair. There has been no shortage of memorable jaw-breaking highlight reel material from Yair Rodriguez and the Korean Zombie. Wild wars, improbable submissions, flying kicks, and one-punch KOs are littered throughout their resumes. So when the two were chosen to main event the UFC's 25th anniversary show, we knew something insane could happen, and the featherweight contenders did not disappoint. During their gorgeously bloody 25 minutes in the octagon, the men combined for an outstanding 593 strike attempts and held nothing back. With battle-worn faces, the two continued to trade momentum until Korean Zombie seemed to pull away with his power and signature habit of moving forward while ignoring any punishment. The fourth round was actually the only round judged unanimously, with all three seeing it for Chan Sung Jung. In the fifth, Zombie was just one step ahead, beating Rodriguez to the punch in almost every exchange and landing counter shots. And just as the two began to bask in the glory of their Fight of the Year offering, with Denver's Pepsi Center in an uproar, they touched gloves and gave us one more flurry with just a few seconds left in the bout. And in that moment, a decision win for the Zombie turned into a KO for Yair as a Hail Mary upwards elbow connected just as the buzzer rang, instantly turning Jung into a lifeless heap on the canvas. Rodriguez was not only given the honors of KO of the Year 2018 by most pundits, but he also won Zombie Kill of the Week. Number 3, Mighty Wizbar. Despite not needing the judges 7 times during his record-breaking 11 successful title defenses, Demetrius Johnson's finishing ability as UFC flyweight champion was grossly underappreciated. At UFC 216, Johnson was scheduled against Ray Borg for that historic 11th defense. As expected, the champion had no problems handling Borg, and while the challenger was game and showed a ton of heart, he was just simply outmatched. Johnson just controlled every aspect of the fight and rarely gave him a chance to gain any momentum. And as the 5th round approached in what was turning into a clear lopsided decision, the commentary team openly pondered whether Borg's stubbornness would last until the final bell. Just when Joe Rogan was ready to declare seeing the decision as a moral victory for the challenger, DJ decided to finish it. With about 2 minutes left on the clock, the champ turned a suplex into a flying armbar, defying gravity and coming close to breaking the space-time continuum. Borg valiantly tried to maneuver his way out of the submission hold, but ultimately succumbed, tapping out and putting an exclamation point next to that unbelievable title run.
Did you see that? Did you see it? Did you see what? Wow,
Number 2, Fulfilled Prophecy. Conor McGregor's hype train was full steam ahead upon his entrance into the UFC. Buzzing through the featherweight division, the outspoken Irishman grew in confidence with every win, and simultaneously his detractors turned up the volume on their criticisms. Believing that the budding star was being protected from difficult style matchups, every challenge was expected to be the one he couldn't conquer. Many believed that champion and all-time great featherweight Jose Aldo would humble his bitter rival. So with the Notorious passing the late notice test at UFC 189 against Chad Mendes for an interim title as Aldo had to withdraw due to an injury, the rebooking at UFC 194 reached an incredible level of hype. While McGregor made his previous predictions of stunning finishes come true several times before, no one believed that he'd live up to his promise of knocking out Aldo in the opening round. Instead, the speculation was all about what a prolonged battle between the two high-level strikers would look like and whether or not the Brazilian's ground skills would make the difference. Once again, Mystic Mac would stun the world as a counter left would sleep Aldo and end his decade-long win streak. And after stumbling against Nate Diaz and avenging that loss, McGregor would once again tap into his psychic abilities by dismantling Eddie Alvarez for the lightweight title in another transcendent performance at UFC 205. And number 1, Anderson takes the red pill. We always hear about athletes entering the flow state, a mental zone where time seems to slow down and they can do no wrong as every move seamlessly blends into the next. GOAT candidate Anderson Silva has been known to reach this supernatural level several times throughout his stint as UFC middleweight champion. But in a non-title bout against former light heavyweight champion Forrest Griffin, Silva went beyond the flow state and actually challenged Neo in the Matrix.
I know Kung Fu.
Sadly for Griffin, his signature fearless aggression was the perfect canvas for the Spider to emphasize the artist in martial artist. As the Tough One winner moved forward with punches, a completely unfazed Silva casually ducked under, slipped and dodged everything coming his way. And of course, the counter punches. Dear Lord, the counter punches. With really precise precision, Silva touched Griffin almost completely at will, dropping him twice while his arms resting at his sides. That brief game of now you see me, now you don't ended abruptly as a pouring backward step jab put Griffin down yet again, ending the fight. Silva continued to bend reality in later wins against Chael Sonnen, Vitor Belfort, Yushin Okami and Stephan Bonner, but the Griffin win was really his magnum opus. And in hindsight, he kind of does look like Morpheus. Hi guys, thanks so much for watching this video today. It was brought to you by Manscaped.com and the Perfect Package 3.0. Along with the Lawnmower 3.0 that you've seen us talk about in some of our previously sponsored video, for a limited time only, the Perfect Package 3.0 comes with, and wait for it, because let's just appreciate how strong this crossover is of superheroes and underwear. You get the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs. Now, no, I'm not going to be modeling these guys for you, but hands down, these are the best boxers out there. The fabric is called Contour Flex, so whether you're flexing a McGregor Mayweather weigh-in bulge or, I don't know, hiding from the scales altogether, one thing is for sure is that you're going to be super comfortable. You can get these boxers with the Perfect Package 3.0 with 20% off using the exclusive code ONPOINT20 at manscaped.com. And you know, when you're walking around repping those boxers, that you're just also helping us get this office sorted. So remember, boxers equals MMA on Point office. That's the world that we live in right now. Thanks so much to Anthony Walker for writing this list. You can go follow him at AntWalkerMMA. And thanks so much to Max Randall for editing it. You can follow him at Max_Randall. Also, thanks so much to the man Ben Rosette, composer of the intro music. Please go check out his music by clicking the link in the description below and catch the latest updates on his Instagram and Twitter page at Ben Rosette. Thanks for watching that video. Please do like and subscribe. We upload 3 jaw-droppingly juicy MMA videos a week to get your teeth into, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to follow us at OnPointMMA and Tom A. Ransom on Twitter, and you make sure you have a great day.